Do you have something inspiring to say? Have you always known that your voice can contribute to the world? Is now the time? Yes, now is the time. The world is waiting for you. Welcome to the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. Today, we have an inspiring guest who is ready to share their voice with the world. Now, on to the show.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Open Mic Spotlight Show. I am your host for today's show, Christine McIver, and today on the Open Mic Spotlight Show, we have another inspiring guest who is going to share their message with all of us. If you are an inspiring individual, someone who's unique, you have a message that you would like to bring to the world, we'd love to hear from you. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is an opportunity to bring your voice to the world, all around the world, where we're broadcasting and where we are inviting people to step into being more of them, because we do know that your voice matters. So today, our wonderful guest is Tammy Eckert. Tammy Eckhart is our unique speaker today, and she's going to be sharing with us how she has transformed her life from dysfunctional and abusive to one of stepping into creating a life of consciousness. Tammy Eckert is an entrepreneur and owner, creator of Revive, Return to Consciousness, and the author of Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required. Tammy is an open-minded approach. She has an open-minded approach to coaching, creating lasting change through energy transformation. Tammy guides clients towards their greater awareness and is now a best-selling author. In her book, Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required, Tammy writes for anyone who has experienced being on the path to something through not knowing what exactly it is. She expresses that even though you've been through something that may seem terrible, miracles are out there and transformations are real. As you read Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required, you will experience her transformations, finding the path that is congruent with who you are and becoming an advocate for yourself and others is Tammy's message. Also, throughout the show, somewhere she's going to surprise us with some amazing gifts that she's going to be sharing with all of the listeners. Now, if you'd like to connect with Tammy, you can do so at Tammy Eckert, that's TammyEckert @gmail.com, or on Facebook at Revive, Return to Consciousness. And, of course, all of this information and the links will be in the replay on the show. So whether you're listening live or in the replay, just come over to Inspired Choices Network and you will find Tammy under the Open Mic Spotlight Show. So, Tammy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Christine. How are you today?
I am very good, and I'm happy to be starting my day with a wonderful conversation about transformation. I mean, seriously, my life is phenomenal. I get to speak to all these amazing people, and I'm very excited about our conversation today.
Me too.
Good. So, Tammy, I know that maybe this isn't something that you do very often, but what you do, I don't do very often. So we're both going to be learning some things today, which I'm excited about. So, Tammy, why don't you start us out? I love talking to people and not knowing a whole ton, because I get to discover a lot about you during our conversation. So, Tammy, why don't you start with telling us, we know a little bit about what you do now, but can you take us back and tell us what was going on in your life, where all of this kind of began for you, where you started to maybe step into this awareness, or what kind of triggered some of this awareness coming forward? Because you do talk about how we can have traumatic events. So was there a traumatic event in your life?
Wow, that's so loaded for me. It's yes. I was brought up in a home of dysfunctional abuse. I am an adult incest survivor, thriver, whatever words you want to put in there. There was more than that. I mean, that in and of itself is huge, but there was more than that. There was like insidious behaviors from both of my parents, mostly from my father. And, things like, he would play games with us. There are 4 of us children, and he would play games that were not really games. We kind of knew that there was some kind of punishment at the end of the game that he would be playing, or some kind of pain inflicted, or, wow, that's still so charged, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, when I was really, really young, maybe 2, I can remember being 2 years old and knowing that this is not the way it's to be. And it's interesting because I look at it like if I knew what not to do, I also knew what to do. I also knew what was correct and congruent for me and my body and my being, and what I was going to choose differently for my own family. So at 2 years old, I knew that I was going to have a family. And it's very interesting that when I look back upon these recollections and realities and knowings that I had at that young age, even though my life was, full of ways in which I was being taught over and over again, nope, that's never going to happen in my life. That's never going to happen for my children or for people that I care about. I learned a lot of lessons about how not to be, which is interesting because I broke the chain of that reality, of that lineage continuing in my life with my children.
Good job. That's fantastic.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. That in and of itself is phenomenal, right? Like, it's just, if you did nothing else, Tammy, doing that is phenomenal.
Thank you.
That changes the world when we stop abuse. It literally changes the world, and not just for you personally and for your children personally, but for the world in and of itself, because that having that abusive energy in the world, actually it's kind of like dandelions, right? It spreads.
Yeah. Like wildfire. If someone does not stand up and do something somewhere, it's just a look of, a child being abused, and you look at that parent or whomever may be abusing that child, changes something. And it's just interesting how change can be created just by the presence of you having the energy of being the advocate for that child or that parent or grandparent or for the puppy next door, or, it's just, I've seen so many possibilities come about just by knowing that this is not going to happen in my life. And it didn't. My children were not touched by that stuff. They were not, I never allowed my parents to have my kids. And it was interesting to, as I grew older, my parents expected me to allow my children to be babysat by them. It's like, are you kidding me? And they didn't understand why I wouldn't allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm. I don't know your parents, but people's norm, right? What's normal to them, it's kind of like a beyond. Like, what do you mean I can't do that? Like, this is the norm,
exactly,
right? And in many situations, I don't know your personal situation, but in many situations, the abuser was often abused as well. So this is their norm.
Correct.
Right?
And that is true. That is true. They were both abused as well.
Right. So they don't necessarily see it, and that's not an excuse.
Agreed.
Right. Well, I'm so glad that you took a different step in a different direction. Congratulations for being the strength that you be. So I'm imagining that this abuse did not end, probably changed in some ways as you grow older. When did things start to shift? When did you start to have your internal conscious transformation? Well,
as soon as I was able to, I sought out therapists, talk therapists and different modalities and different complementaries and all different ways in which I could outwardly help certain situations. I really wasn't thinking about what I needed to do because I looked at it as once I got married, I was out of that, I was out of it. It didn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. And I was very naive because that is just was the case. But it's like, okay, done. I'm married now. Let's move on with my husband and have my family and do that. So even though I really thought I was out of it and there were no strings attached to my childhood and, all of that, I was beginning to have troubles in my marriage that had to do with, I realize now, all of the strings that were still attached to my childhood. Like, for instance, like the way my husband and my bed moved would create a flashback. Would I be loving spending time with my husband? Yes. And I would also be in a flashback of the way the bed would move. It was such a duality that was happening all of the time in my life, in my mind, and in my body, and I didn't realize it. It took me a long time to not be mad at my husband because he moved the bed in a certain way. And it wasn't his fault, ever. It was a complete tie that bound me to the body memories of certain things.
Right.
So from there, I started to do workshops, participate in workshops, not teach them, but participate in workshops that would dig deeper into who I be.
Right.
And
good.
And then in 2013, I actually was invited to a bars class with Barbara Gilman. And since then, with Access Consciousness, I have been unveiling and opening up and being in a place of true expansion and rawness and openness in a way that I never had been before. So, I took as many classes as I could. I'm now a bars facilitator and a body processor, and I've taken 4 foundation classes, and every single class that I take with Access Consciousness allows me to open up in a way that I never knew was possible and brings me closer and closer and closer to my own personal highest, greatest good. That's how I feel about it, and that's my opinion and my point of view about it. But I know that I have made the greatest change in the shortest amount of time with Access Consciousness. And it's interesting because Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here, and everyone I've come in contact with in Access so far have only wanted me to be the best me that I could be. There seems to be, to me, no agenda on their end except for me to be the best me I could be. And that is an amazing place to be because I really feel like they have my back for me to be me. Not just the world has my back, but also other people have my back, which is a very interesting place for me.
Right,
and I love it.
Especially after having gone through what you've gone through. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow,
Absolutely.
that's very, very cool. So Tammy, between the time that you left your family home, your family of origin, and today, how many years have you been on this new journey of you?
Well, I'm 55, and I got married when I was 19, so that many years I've been on this new journey of me. So, but I've been on, it's interesting because I've been on a journey of becoming me since I was young enough to remember, and I remember when I was 2. So, it feels as though this whole journey has been to create a change that's been necessary in the world. So what is it that I need to learn along the way? And I certainly got some lessons.
Well, you obviously didn't come here to play small, girl.
No, I felt like I wanted to play small because I really, it took me a long time to come out from hiding, but
it did.
Not any longer.
Not any longer. She's out there. Everybody, if you weren't sure, she's definitely out. That's fantastic. Yeah. I love it. Well, listen, we are up to our first commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to dive deeper into everything about Tammy's book and about what it is around transformation that she does. And we're certainly happy to take any of your calls or your questions. You can call in the U.S., 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at Inspired Choices Network, or you can come on over to the InspiredChoicesNetwork.com, and on the menu bar, click on the chat room and come in the chat room, and you can ask us a question right there. So stay tuned, everyone. We will be back just after this short commercial break talking with Tammy Eckert about Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required.
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're just tuning in, we have another inspiring guest who is sharing her message with all of us. And our guest is Tammy Eckert. And today we're talking about Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required. So, Tammy, before we went for commercial, you were sharing with all of us what your life was like as you began to come into your body and you began to move through your life with your family of origin. And like you, like many people, you had a very traumatic events that occurred in your life. There was abuse, there was unkindness, and unfortunately, I can say that you're among many, many people that have had that occur in their life to some degree or another. But I'm so happy to hear and looking forward to more about what occurred as you began to move forward in your life. So at some point, you started to know that something else was possible. When did you started to take courses, and you mentioned Access Consciousness that has given you a great deal of your life back to you. What are you creating in the world right now, Tammy?
Wow. I'm actually going to give an example. One of my clients bought my book, and now the book is only about an hour read, but it's kind of intense. So, you pick it up, you read a chapter, you put it down. So,
okay.
Yeah,
that's that's how I read. Actually, it's like, okay, I just got to take that one in. So you advise people that
exactly.
That's likely what you're going to do. Okay, good.
Yeah, and she told me that she had read a chapter or two and she put it down and she couldn't. She keeps looking at it and no, not yet, no, not yet, no, not yet is what pops up for her. But she read enough that she had witnessed a friend of hers kind of being, a little not so nice. And she said something. Until she read my book, And she told me this, and it was amazing. I mean, it brought tears to both of our eyes at the moment, that she spoke up, and the person heard her and listened and made a change, like, directly after that conversation. So that's the kind of change that I'm creating. And I say I only because of the book and only because of the all of the stuff that came until the book, but it's not really me. It's that person in that moment. They're the ones who created the change. So I look at the book and the possibility of what the book could create as kind of like a tuning fork of change that can, just by reading the book, it changes the vibration and the knowledge and the awareness of some of the things that, have happened or may still be happening or that are possible in this planet, in this world, in this reality that, we may never have known about until we start looking at what a clue might be. So that's what I feel like I'd like to bring to the world is just the knowledge of that as a possibility. Because it would be nice if we all just walked around with smiles on our face and we're kind of oblivious to the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But even when I was a kid in school, the teachers never knew, the nurse never knew, and I came in with bruises all of the time. And if my parents ever got talked to about it, it would be, well, Tammy's just, she's clumsy. Tammy cries every time you talk to her. She's so small, and she has weak ankles. Those were the excuses my parents would give. And to prove that Tammy had weak ankles, which I never had, they would bind my ankles and make me wear, straps around my skates and straps around my sneakers, stuff like that to prove to the world that there was something wrong with me, when in fact that wasn't the case.
When did you claim, own, and acknowledge there was nothing wrong with you?
Wow. I'm still claiming that. I'm still beginning to only see that, oh my goodness, I am just the way I am, and I'm here for a reason. And I think the first real noticing of that was, may I say, at an ESB with Dr. Dane here, February, not last year, the year before, not this past year, but last year.
Right.
And he had facilitated me on several occasions for different reasons and in different places. And, I've been to many different classes and where he had facilitated with me and others as well. But I stood up at the mic and he helped me see that I had brought a certain agenda with me from childhood, the agenda that both of my parents put in my mind, which was, I'm good for nothing. I am always going to be good for nothing. No one is ever going to love me. And if anybody ever tells me they love me, it's not true. And my husband is going to cheat on me, ... All men are untrustworthy. And in my mind, women were not trustworthy either because my mother perpetuated a lot of this stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gotten facilitated several times by both Gary and Dane, and I finally went to an ESP in Washington, and I stood up at the mic waiting for facilitation to talk to Dr. Dane. And
right.
Yes. Thank you.
No problem.
It's just, I'm still a little nervous about talking about it all because I still feel very vulnerable, and, it's, all that trying to be the good daughter thing and the good sister and the good ... But you know what? With being all of that, I'm not being who I be. And not that I'm bad, it's just I'm coming out from the control of someone else.
Right.
So in this facilitation, like the night before the class started, Dane and I gave each other a hug, and it was such a beautiful hug and he even admitted to the class that it just brought tears to his eyes because he knew that I was finally opening up. And then the next day, my right shoulder, I couldn't raise my right arm for anything, and I stood at the mic to get facilitated about that. And then he says to me, have you ever been able to receive from me? And I looked at in my brain, and I said, yes, I have. And he said, liar, right out loud in front of 200 people. And I felt like, what? And then I did the brain search, which I do often, is like, where in my experience with him, where is it possible he's calling me a liar? And then I realized that after every facilitation that I received from Dane, I went back into that's not true. He's just saying that. He wants something from me. And then I came to the complete clarity that came from my parents. It was not true. And when I'm looking into my brain as I'm standing at the mic, he says, what's that? I say, I'm seeing where what you're saying is true. I'm seeing that I had the agenda, that you have an agenda, that everyone has an agenda, that I'm only around for somebody else's toy. And I see now that I brought that with me, and I made so many decisions in my life because that was implanted in me when I was a kid.
Right.
So it was, and beautiful Dane. He's such a beautiful being. He says to me, that's why I love this woman. She will stand there and she will take it and she will put it where it's supposed to be in her, and she just takes the facilitation. And, and we went on about that, but that's where I really came to the knowing that what else have I allowed myself to make life choices, because of something that was implanted in me when I was a kid. And there have been so many places, like hiding. I mean, I love the four walls of my house. But you know what? It's time to get out there. It's time to stop hiding. I used to sleep under my bed. I used to sleep in the closet. It never worked. But I'm still hiding in places in my life. Yeah, I still hide now because, I'm afraid. That word afraid even, it's like, what happens if, a family member just decides to come up and shoot me in the back or something because I'm finally speaking the truth about something. They just plain old don't like it. Well, there's a possibility of stuff like that happening in my family of origin. You know? So
yes, of course there is. But Tammy, if I can just say, first of all, your vulnerability is a gift. Your willingness to stand in the world wherever you are, whether it's in a class or it's talking one-on-one with someone, being here on the radio with me today, your vulnerability in looking at what was actually occurring, what occurred, and what continues to kind of bubble to the surface is a gift. Because in you looking at that, you're allowing each and every other person with you to also examine what went on for them and what else is actually available. And if we don't have leaders like yourself in the world that are willing to step up, even when they're still scared shitless, to say, this is what's occurred, this is what's occurring for me, you are a leader. I don't know if you've ever realized that, but you are a leader in your willingness to look at what is not okay and your determination to change it. No person that has never had abuse is going to lead the way out of abuse. It's just, they don't get it.
That's true.
Right? They don't get it. So thank you. Thank you for your willingness, even while you're still uncomfortable with all of this. Thank you for your willingness to still keep choosing. And I think that's a huge message that you're bringing to the world, that even though this occurred and you're still uncomfortable, you're still choosing, and you're safe to still continue to choose.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. It feels, it feels very soothing in all of the whole molecular structure of my body to just hear that. I cannot tell you. The little girl in me, she still requires nurturing, and she may always, and that's all right with me. And it's really nice to have another female, thank you, Christine, nurture her. I so appreciate that.
You're so welcome. And on that note, we're up for our second break of the show. See, these shows go so fast, Tammy. I told you. So everyone, when we get back, we're going to dive in. I really want to hear all about the book, Tammy, and I know that our listeners are interested in hearing about it as well. It's a fabulous title called Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required, and my guest, Tammy Eckert, and I will discuss that right after the commercial break. So stay tuned, everyone.
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message? The world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a wonderful guest, Tammy Eckert, who is talking with us about transformation, what she was experiencing in her life and where she is today and what she is doing. So, Tammy, your book,
Yes.
Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required. Can you kind of give us a background on how that came to be and what the book is all about, please?
Well, it came to be because I write. One of the things that was highly suggested in many of my therapist sessions was to write. So I would write about what I was thinking, what I was going through, what my body was feeling, and I would write about my dreams and, all of those things. And I'm, pretty decent at writing. And during some of these sessions, it was suggested to me that, maybe one day I would write a book. I never really took it for anything more than just a suggestion because at the time I was like, me write a book? Are you kidding? And then, as I became more and more aware of what it was that I was bringing with me from my childhood, it's like maybe writing a book is the right thing to do for me and what's congruent and correct for me, because I had recalled why I came to this planet to begin with. And in that, it's like, okay, so how can I do the change that's required here if I don't go through with the contract that I created for why I came here? So that's what perpetuated the writing and the publishing of this book.
Okay.
So what's in the book the first chapter is about, and I get right into it, there's no holds barred, which is very interesting to me that I no holds barred it. The first chapter is about being 2 years old and watching my father molest my sister. So,
wow.
Yeah. So there's no chronological order of the book. It's just, I would ask what needs to be written about now. And in the book, I took many recesses. Sometimes I even took a vacation from writing because my body would recall my being, everything about the energy that I am would recall what I went through at the time that I was writing about, which was an interesting journey for me to relive it sort of in a different way, but realize too that I lived through it, so I should be able to write about it.
Right.
And so I created this book. There are 21 chapters in it. At first I thought it was just going to be like a Kindle, and then my marketing manager said to me, we need to put chapters in it, because there were no chapters. I just wrote. So then I had to proofread it and edit it myself, and going through the whole thing again, it was
wow,
another
Tammy, holy
learning lesson. Yes. So in that 21 or in that 1 hour book that really is, if you're reading straight through it, it really only takes about an hour to read. There are 21 different segments at which my marketing team call chapters. Some are very short and some are a little longer, of different experiences that I had. And there are so many more, but I just couldn't put them all. Nor is the message of the book necessary for all of them. The message of the book is more of a, what have you learned from, your experiences where you could be an advocate for someone else? What have you learned what not to do? And how can you be an advocate for others? So, it's been an interesting process to see a book with my name on it and to know what's in that book and how the energy of the book. I mean, someone told me that they knew the energy of the book actually precedes the book or the chapter you're about to read. A friend of mine who read the book said that before she read the last chapter, the second to last chapter, I'm not sure which, there was a point in time in that chapter that I felt like I was going to throw up when I was living what was going on at the time and when I wrote that chapter. And just before she started to read it, she told me she felt like she was going to be sick. And then she read it, and then she called me and she says, oh, my God, the energy of this book is amazing. So, I mean, not that the feeling of being sick is a comfortable feeling, but that's the energy of the book, and that's the message of the book. It's like, what and who can we be to be an advocate for a child who comes in with bruises when you're a teacher in school?
Okay.
What can we be?
Right. So the title, Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required, how did that come to you?
Well, this is a culmination of a couple of different experiences in my life, the miraculous experiences in my life. The first experience that I had that I call a miracle was, and this is pretty intense, my father attempted to drown me. And that is in the book. Don't know what chapter it is, but it's in the book. He, and I'll just give a quick synopsis if that's all right.
Absolutely.
My brothers and my sister and my parents were in the house, and I was outside, and we had one of those 3-foot-high swimming pools, and it was summertime. My father came outside, and I was still outside. And he knelt down by the pool, and he said, come here, Tammy. I'm not going to hurt you. And this still affects my body. Anyway, so I obeyed, knowing that I was going to be okay, but I obeyed because not obeying was not an option. So I stepped into the pool as far away from him as I could possibly get, and he splashed water at me. He said, come a little closer. And he splashed more water at me, and I came a little closer, and then he reached in and he grabbed my ankles and pulled my feet out from under me so that he was standing up and my torso was under the water. So as I struggled to get an elbow under me, he would move my body in a way that my torso was back under the water. So I kept
Right.
struggling, and he kept moving my body in such a way. And then after, I don't know how long, there was no more struggle. And then the next thing I recall was I was hovering over a little girl's body who was in a pool. And I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure how to get to her. And then this being, beautiful being, spirit, angel, whatever you want to call her, came to the little girl in the pool, picked her up, hugged her, and laid her down beside the pool. And then the next thing I recall after that was coughing up water, getting it out of my body, sitting up and looking around and wondering if what happened really happened. Did that really happen? So I went towards the house. I dried myself off as best I could with a towel. And as I walked in the kitchen door, my parents both had their back to me because they were cooking, I don't know, grilled cheese or something like that. And the rest of the kids were in the living room. So I went in and I sat on the couch. And I heard my parents, my mother was saying to my father, "Where's Tammy?" And he said, "I don't know, I think she's out in the pool." And I don't know how I mustered it, but I said very loudly, "I'm in here." And my father gave a sharp turn of his head to the left, and I heard him, vulgarly say, "What the, you know what?" I heard him say that in his head. And at that moment, I knew that he couldn't kill me. I was alive, and I was meant to stay alive. Now, to me, that's a miraculous moment. And from there, I also, go ahead.
Yeah, hang on. Hell yeah, that's a miraculous moment. Let's not jump over that fast. First of all, holy shit, that you actually walked towards your father and obeyed him. I love what you said. Not obeying was not an option. But seriously, how many people would have said, done anything, went running or done anything? I mean, especially today, thank God, children, for the most part, are more empowered. Sometimes they're more of a pain in the ass, but they are more empowered that they would fight back even verbally, right? And you didn't, because like you said, not obeying was not an option. So the fact that you actually walked into that kind of perceiving that something good was not going to occur, amazing.
And knowing that I was going to be all right. I also knew that I was going to be all right. Real. Right,
but your human body was like shit, right? And
exactly.
And then for you to have a divine intervention and to have to watch it and then that in of itself, I mean, I might have gotten up and walked, out on the road and walked to the police station or to the neighbors or anywhere else, but you go back into the house and then you have the chutzpah to yell out, "I'm in here," knowing you were going to freak the hell out of your father.
Yeah, he deserved to be freaked the hell out of.
I totally agree, 100%. But that is a holy shit. Seriously, do you realize how strong you are? For you to do all of this is huge. Huge. Especially.
Wow, I didn't realize that until just now, Christine. Thank you.
Yeah, oh my God. Many people would be, they'd run upstairs and maybe hide under their bed, if they didn't feel like they could leave the house. But no, not Tammy. Tammy just goes and acts normal and freaks them the hell out. You're not just a little potent. You're not just a little potent or provocative, are you?
No. Well, that was an interesting.
I was just going to say there definitely has been a fighter in you for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that to my real awareness, because for me it's there were other instances and all that, and that's just one instance of, a miracle that I completely was receiving of, and, and there's a part that says, the miracle wouldn't have had to happen if he wasn't such a shit. I'm sorry about the swear word, but, and then the truth is that it really was a miracle, and it was divine intervention, and I know that I came here for a purpose, and nobody was going to get in the way of that purpose.
And it was a hell of a lot of guts, too, so good on you, girl.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine.
Okay, listen, on this note, we got to go for our last break of the show. Everybody stay tuned, and we'll be right back with Tammy Eckert, where we're talking about Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required.
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message? The world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for staying tuned with this fabulous conversation with Tammy Eckert. We're talking about Undercover Angel, Wings Not Required. Now, we're going to jump back into the conversation, but before we do, Tammy, I would love for you to share with all of our listeners the special gift that you're offering them. Can you let them know all about that, please?
Sure. The special gift that I'm offering today is a $200 discount on a package of 5 sessions. In these sessions, we will create long-lasting change through energy transformation. The regular fee for a session with me is $200, and each session is about an hour and a half long. The sessions are available through Facebook, Zoom, or phone, or in person. So we can
Fabulous.
if you're looking for body work, then obviously you need to come see me. But I will also do verbal processing, as well as I call them rock and body sessions, which are the revival of conscious knowing embodied. And that can be done via Zoom as well.
Awesome. That's fabulous. That's an amazing discount. So everyone, if you are interested in taking up her offer, Tammy's offer, or talking to her more about this amazing subject, you can connect with her at her email, tammyeckert@gmail.com, tammyeckert@gmail.com. And of course, if you're listening elsewhere and you would like to get more information, come on over to the Inspired Choices Network, look under the archives, under the Open Mic Spotlight Show, and you will see Tammy's show posting right there. So, okay, that's a phenomenal offer. Thank you so much. So, Tammy, you've written this book. Tell me about what's next for you. Obviously, there is still a great deal of work to do in the world regarding abuse and unkindness. Where is the future for Tammy Eckert?
Well, I'm going to be doing workshops globally, is my hope, my desire, to not just talk about abuse, but to, because abuse is such an interesting word. And I say interesting because we can attach, our own description to what abuse is individually. But when we say the word abuse, the negative connotation of that word is what gets spread. And I would like to kind of flip that and say, okay, so what have we learned from what we went through? And how can we create the difference that we want to see in the world? And these are many of Access Consciousness tools, but they're also my own personal experiences, because I was making the changes that needed to be created long before I found Access. And Access sped the process amazingly. And I completely recommend, Access Consciousness if that's something that you're looking for, or finding a facilitator, any facilitator that you know is congruent and correct for you, your body, your being, and the way in which you can learn and create the you that you completely be without accepting anybody else as an authority over you. So that's a task sometimes to go out and find, because for me, I was a hands-on healer. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I'm a Reiki level 3 practitioner. I do sound healing. I'm a reverend. So there are many, many things along the way that I really studied and I became so proficient at. And then it came to a fact like, you know what? This isn't quite the right thing for me. I know there's more out there. I know there's a different way to change quicker what it is that I know needs to be changed, because I was still seeing where there were so many connections between what I was living and the attachments to the abuse that I received as a child. So, and like I said, Access really helped to speed that and help me create the me that I'm continuing to create and unfold even today. So thank you. And, yes. So I am going to be writing another book. There's that. I do workshops.
Okay, wait. You can't skip over that so fast, girl. Come on back there. You have got to give us a little teaser about this new book.
Well, this new book is going to be a culmination of more of a compilation of not just some more of the lessons that I learned along the way, but it's also going to be about those who have helped me learn the lessons and how to maybe get in touch with them, maybe read a book that they have written, just to share in the change that is being created presently in this reality, and to allow other people to realize, it's not just them that are hiding in the shadows, and how else can we get out there? And maybe there's not a necessity to become certified and licensed in a godzillion amount of different therapies and modalities and alternatives. Not that that's not possible for others, but just that there may be a quicker way to get what is required for that particular person. So it's going to be a compilation of all of those different things.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. Well, Tammy, we're coming up to the end of our show. What's the last message you would like to give all of our listeners?
The last message is, if you're hiding, come out of the shadows. You are amazing. You deserve to come out of the shadows and live your life to the fullest. No matter what anybody else says, no matter who you think has authority over you, because there is no authority greater than you, and you have the potency and the power to be what you demand of you.
Fabulous. Everyone, please connect with Tammy. Take advantage of her amazing offer, and be sure and share this show with others who perhaps would really benefit from what Tammy's sharing. Thank you, Tammy, so much for joining us today, and we'll see everyone on the airwaves next time. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you for listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Radio Show. We will be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, and 6 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, continue to create you with joy and inspiration.